And good evening, everybody, and welcome to TNSradio.com. The time is now 23:09, and welcome to Sunday evening's show, wherever you're listening in the world. And hopefully you can hear me okay. Any problems, let me know. Both players are on, slow player and fast player, both on, so you should be able to hear there. And Nala's wondering who I'm interviewing. I'm not interviewing anybody tonight so far, Nala. To be honest, tonight I wanted to go through some situations myself, and I wanted to go through some things that I think people will find useful. You see, a lot of the things I think people are coming across on the internet, while interesting, they're not useful. So really what I wanted to do was to try to give you an idea about how you can actually make information work for you. You know, Darrell O'D, for example, is great at this, regardless as to what you may or may not think of as information. He's great at getting it out there and getting it into people so that people are inclined to use it. So I'd like to try and express to you tonight how you can do things, as opposed to how you can just sit passively back and let stuff happen. Now, you know, a lot of people talk to me and they seek solutions for their problems from me, and I keep telling people, look, I don't have the solution for your problem. All I can do is talk about the way everything's been set up, and to try and give you, as best I know, or as best I see, and to try and give you some information to see if you can put it into action somehow for you. You see, if you don't know how the game is played, there's no way of... yes, I've got pips on. There we go. Hold on. I'll take care of that now. If you don't know how the game is played, how are you supposed to play? On top of that, if you don't know there is a game being played, again, how can you operate? So, look, I'm going to take things back to the beginning again. I'm going to do it real simple, straightforward, for the benefit of those who know nothing. Let's assume you know nothing, right? Let's assume you've lived under your mother and father's wing all your life. You've hit 18, say, and you've never needed to sign a contract, borrow money, get a driving license, join the army, military, Garda Síochána, fire brigade, nothing. You basically are 18 years of age, and you've decided, okay, I'm going to leave home. You've no mortgage or bills or any of that stuff, and you're going to leave home. You're going to fly the coop, fly the nest. And you say to your father, okay, or maybe your father would say to you, okay, son, before you go, you're going to need this. Now, this is most likely going to be the birth certificate. There's nothing you can do. There's no point to start from until you have your birth certificate to enter into commerce. You can try, but if you try and engage in commerce somehow, and you haven't given any reference or relation in the past to a birth certificate, it will not happen. Have I still got them flipping pips on? Okay, just double checking. There we go. Aha, okay, somebody sent me a PM, and when they send me a PM, the pips go off. Okay, so you're 18 and you have a birth certificate. Now let's say you think you want a job. You know, your father doesn't have land that you can use. He lives in a 3-bed semi-terraced house or whatever, just like most people do. Well, as far as we can tell, most land on the land known as Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland, etc., it's all fenced off and allocated, and different people are using it for different things. So there's no kind of wild, empty land that you can just say, hey, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to start growing and sheep herding, goat herding, whatever. There's no land you can do that. So in an ideal world, for example, if there was extra land and nobody was using it, hey, that'd be great, right? You could go and you could stick the birth certificate in your back pocket, whatever, forget about it, and go and do what you want to do. And if you have neighbours, you could trade and whatnot according to the rules of barter, or you could use natural law, whereby you can steal from each other if you so choose, or you can work in harmony, or you can completely ignore each other. There's always 3 options, folks. I think a lot of people need to understand that. There's always 3 options. Never, ever, only 2. But anybody who's trying to deceive you will always only offer you one or another option. They'll never offer you the 3rd option. And really what I want people to see is that there's this 3rd option. Okay, so we're at basics still. 18, and you're outside your mother and father's home, birth certificate in pocket, and you think, well, okay, my father didn't give me any currency. I did want to leave, so I'm operating on my own here. Well, you could be forgiven for thinking that the first thing you needed was a bank account. Now, how difficult or easy do you think it might be to get and open and obtain access to a bank account? You see, they don't actually give you a bank account. You beg for access to control one. It's still their account. But perhaps, let's say, for example, we're talking ideal world here, and the bank manager looks at you and he thinks, well, okay, 2 arms, 2 legs, fit young fella. No reason why he shouldn't be able to make it in the world. So, okay. Now, they say they'll open an account for you, which is true, because the accounts were closed to you beforehand. So, what process do they go through to open an account for you? They don't tell you they're going to create a new account and give it to you. That's not what they say, right? Heard me just pouring out a drink here. So that's not what they say. They don't say we're going to create a brand new account and give it all to you, and you can be your own agent on this account, and we might do business, but, you know, you can move and take the account and do what you will with it. That's not what happens. Now, to get this position, you see, what a lot of people don't realize is they're not going to just give access to an account to just anybody. No. They want to make sure there's a vested interest in the account. So how are they going to do that? Well, think about it. Let's imagine you're in the bank's position for a moment. This is a great way to try and get your head into what's happening out there, folks. Always, intellectually, if you can, switch positions to try and work out what the other guy is after. Maybe they're not after anything. Maybe just to understand their position. Okay. The only way they're going to grant you access to an account, to open an account to you, is they give you an application form where you are applying, you are begging. It's begging. You beg. Oh, please, 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 make an account accessible to me. And they do. But they only do so by hiring you, using you, if you will, usury. See, what they do is they hire you. They make you a real low-level employee, because you have to be in the business of banking to operate a bank account from inside the bank. How else could you do it? Banks are private corporations, folks. They're private. As in, they're privately owned companies. Well, if you want to access and operate in the company, the only way you can do so is if you're an employee of the company. I know they don't tell you this. Maybe they want you to work this out on your own or by yourself. I don't know. But if somebody can come up with another way, using contract law and studying contract law to see if there's any other way, you know, using any legal language you like, that you can operate a bank account without being an employee of the bank, no matter how low, I'd love to hear from you. Now, once you get into that position, I'm assuming most of you who are listening at the moment agree. I don't see anybody disagreeing in the chat box at the moment. Okay. So you're now real low-level bank employee. Well, bank employee is held accountable for what they do, right? I mean, if they hire you in Tesco's, for example, and they say, okay, we're going to put you in charge of the meat department. And for convenience, what they're going to do is they're going to now refer to it anytime they send you a communication. They're going to call it, let's say your name is John Doe. They're going to send the communication to John Doe's meat department. Hey, John Doe, your department is in disarray. They don't mean your own private department. It's still Tesco's department. They're telling you your department is out of balance or in disarray according to the contract, the employment contract. They know it's still theirs, but they let you control it. Okay, so let's get back to where I was. So I'm saying, basically, logic and reason. This is not me saying it. I'm saying logic and reason surely or clearly specifies and shows the only possible relationship that you can be in with Tesco's. If you're taking care of the meat department and they're calling it John Doe's meat department, and if you think your name is John Doe, well, do you really think it's yours? If there's a crisis in the meat department, wouldn't you go, whoops, crisis in the meat department, I've no more meat on the shelves. I'll go to the boss and say, hey boss, I'm running out of meat on these shelves here. Where do we get more? Now, same thing, let's apply the same thing to a bank. Well, they'll send you a letter one day perhaps. A statement is usually what they send. You see, Tesco's, for example, might send you a statement to say, hey, John Doe, we hired you to look after the meat department, and you're shy of meat. There's no meat there. We need meat. You agreed that you keep meat on the shelves. Where's the meat? Now imagine if this was the situation in Tesco's and you went out and you worked hard and bought meat with your own money and brought it back to Tesco's and put it on the shelf and said, there you go. There's the meat. Well, they've got no complaint now, right? They have no complaint. They'll say, that's fine, wonderful, meat on the shelves, lovely, meat on the bones. Well, it's the same thing in the bank. Except they didn't tell you that you didn't have to go and put the money into the account. You don't have to. That's not part of the contract, believe it or not. Most people don't look at the contract. But if you actually go find a bank application form, any bank, doesn't matter. Read through it real careful. And then have a look on the website, see if there are any extra conditions. And then you try and work out, when you apply the 7 requirements for contract law, for a contract to be valid, bona fide, and in existence, even if it is fictitious, you know what I'm saying, even if that's the state of play between your mind and their mind, see if you end up with a valid, lawful contract. I can't see how you can. Seems to me it's void ab initio. That's a fancy word from the beginning, as in from the initial, the first.